So first question, saw a lot of y'all working this one out. If you had any issues, I did see some good helping people to helping each other. The inverse, remember you're gonna do the 4 steps. FSIR. F is changing to Y. I'm gonna switch my X and my Y. So from here, you got to get rid of the 8, the 5, and the square. I think everybody knows to get rid of +8 first. Oops, that's a x minus 8, sorry. So I end up with x minus 8 equals 5y squared. Where you may miss this question is, which one do you get rid of next, the times 5 or the square? Well, remember, I like to say do which one's further away, but they're both really close. You're really supposed to do PEMDAS backwards. We already subtracted 8 first. Next is multiply divide, which means the 5 is next to go. I'm dividing the whole side by 5. And I think we all know how to get rid of a square at that point. Just square root all of it. Good one to cheat on. You know +8 is going to turn to -8. Times 5 is going to turn to divide 5. A square is going to turn to square root. And it's partially squared. So the whole thing ends up square rooted. Give yourself a pat on the back if you got that right. So here, remember to tell if something is in vertical, you're just going to use the horizontal line test. And as long as they only touch once, you're good. And we are good. So this is invertible. So which graph represents the inverse? Remember to tell where the inverse is. All you need to do is flip coordinates. For example, I see a good coordinate at 10, 3. So I know I better see 3, 10. Just to put it in writing, this has 10, 3 right here. So I better see 3, 10 in my new graph. So I'm looking for one. Though this one has 3, 10, this one's a full parabola. Whereas this one was just half a parabola. So I definitely like this 3, 10 right here. This one doesn't have a 3, 10 at all. And neither does this one. Always flip your coordinates. Make sure that they match. So this was from the day that I was out, but you had a quick little 10-minute video. I did reteach it the next day when I came back on Monday, but f of -3. Remember, this is a x, so I'm looking for -3 on the x side. I'm going to make that a little bigger. So -3 gives me a 2, because again, I was looking for -3 on the x side. As soon as that 2 comes out, though, it multiplies with this 2. So I end up with 2 times 2, which is 4. On the other side, that's the inverse right there of 12. That means 12 is my y value. I'm going backwards. I go to the y side. I pull out the x of 2. There's a times 5 right there that's multiplying with it to make 10. And in the middle, there's a plus sign. Final answer, 14. Take the time and work those out. Write your numbers down. Don't try to remember all those numbers in your head. You're bound to make a simple mistake somewhere. Notice 75% of kids missed this. Probably because it wasn't multiple choice for the most part. That would have helped. But still, 75% is way too much. I think it's been better the last couple semesters. Just to make sure that's good, I gave another one for practice or extra practice. This is from also Unit 1A's Delta, if you need more practice there. F of 1 is the x value. I'm looking right there. I'm pulling out the y that goes with it, which is 6. And remember that 2 is multiplying the 6 to make 12. Next up, I got to go to 20. But again, see that little -1 with it? That little -1 means it's inverse of 20. So I'm looking at 20 on the y side. Once I find 20 on the y side, I see that I'm going to get a 3 out of there. So I was messing all that up. So we had 2 times 6 earlier, which was 12. The inverse of 20 right there is 3, which multiplies with that 3 to make 9. And this time in the middle, there's a minus sign, not a plus sign like last time. I intentionally wanted a 1-digit answer, so I made it that. Next up, so only 48% of students were able to match this up correctly. Looking at the picture, I'm going to start with domain, left to right. I know I'm going to go from negative 11, unincluded, to 9. So domain was pretty simple to start with. Negative 11 to 9. 9 had a bracket because it was closed circle. I'm going to do range next. Lowest is negative 2, highest is 9, and it touches both of those numbers. It includes both of those numbers. Next up, I'm going to look for where it is negative. Negative zone means below the x-axis. So I'm looking for where we went below. Always start on the left. I'm above until I get right there at 0, and I go below, and I stay below until I get to 5 or 6. Something like 5 or 6, and I didn't realize that wasn't the perfect number or a perfect crossing, but good enough. So between 3 to 9 and negative 9 to 3. So I'm going to see what 3 to 9 is. Go to 3, assuming it's an X. Go to 9. Between 3 and 9, it is going up. That is an increase zone. So negative 9 to 3 must have been a decrease, and it was starting at negative 9 and decreasing all the way until it got to 3. Nice job if you got all 5 of those. I do include questions like that on tests where you got a drag and drop like this or match. I use SchoolNet for my test. Another inverse. This time you only got to get rid of 2 numbers. Don't be scared because it's a fraction. What's further away from x? Yep, and 7 is trapping or holding down 8, so you can't add 8 first. How do you get rid of divide 7? Nice and easily, you times 7. What you do to one side, you do to the other. I didn't do my little FSIR steps. My apologies, going a little too fast. Change f of x to y and then switch x and y. Now I can get rid of divide 7 with times 7. What I do to one side, do to the other. Get rid of minus 8 by adding 8, and y is by itself. So the inverse is 7x plus 8. Organizing these into invertible and not invertible. Remember, use the horizontal line test to see if it's invertible. It touches once, that's a good thing, and that only touches once. Oh, I love it. My horizontal line is just going to stay there. Again, only touches once. Even right there, we learned a little bit about that spot in Unit 5, or 6 now actually, but that only touches once as well. It's slowly going up through there, so that's also invertible. That one touches 3 times right there. And this one touches many times. That's a trig graph. By the way, we'll learn about those in Unit 8. Another inverse. This one has a fraction in. I'm going to go ahead and change my y, and I'm going to go ahead and switch my x and my y. Get rid of minus 7 first. It's further away. So I add 7. So do you know how to get rid of a 1/4? What's the opposite of a fourth? Good way to do that is 2 times by the reciprocal, which is 4 over 1. It'll cross cancel. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side, and I have to do it to the whole side. So you need 4 parentheses x plus 7, which is also 4x plus 28 if you distribute it, which is the red answer. Very important to know. You had it times 4 basically, but 4 multiplies both of them, not just one of them. There was a lot of good trap answers. I think I just added this question recently. What's happening from 2 to 7? Pretty simple. It's going up. Increase zone. What's happening from negative 6 to 10? If I look at negative 6 on the x, nothing is happening. But if I look at negative 6 on the y, it looks like I might be getting the range. Open circle is parentheses. Closed circle is brackets. So I love that one for range. Is this function invertible? Touches 3 times, so nope. And finally, it's not invertible because it failed the horizontal line test. Find f of 1, also from Friday's video. You go to 1 on the x-axis like we was doing on the table earlier because it's f of 1. I look for my line and I see it hits at a y value of 5. Last two questions. What are the coordinates, or which coordinate would be on the inverse? You know, that little -1 means inverse. So let's see, 0, 0. If I flip that, be 0, 0, but 0, 0 clearly is not on here. 3, -1 would flip to -1, 3. -1, 3 is right there on the line, so I like that one. So either 2, 1 or 0, 4 is going to be on the line. Looks like 0, 4 is on the line. 2, 1 would be right there, and that's no good. Sometimes you got to pick more than one answer. It'll clearly say choose more than one answer. And finally here, I just added this question. I wanted to make sure y'all know how to get that cube root button. You need to hit the little keyboard, go to functions, go all the way to the bottom. You don't want the regular square root button. That square root button over there is a 2. But you could put any root in this one, as I already did. I put the little 3 in myself. But the cube root of x is here. Always read from left to right. And the question is, what's the decreasing zone? But it never decreases. It's always going up. So with that being said, the decreasing zone must be undefined. There ain't one.